Hey everybody, it's Steph from the Hot Movement Podcast. So the Minnesota Timberwolves, are they on the brink of collapse, right? I mean, the first two games, everybody was like, yo, Minnesota Timberwolves, they are built to beat the Denver Nuggets. The Denver Nuggets look so discombobulated on offense. The Wolves were hunting on defense, and you know what? It was like, okay, Minnesota's going home up 2-0. Can they close the deal out, right? Or at least at the bare minimum go up 3-1. And that hasn't been the case. The Denver Nuggets, they finally reestablished themselves as the defending champions, looking at this point now like the better team in this series. It's crazy how within the series, both, Minnesota in the first two games looks dominant. Minnesota more so looking dominant towards the latter end of game one, and then in game two, Minnesota looked dominant top to bottom, right? Even without Rudy Gobert, which we're about to get to in a bit. So the whole thing, the whole way they played the first two games was just abysmal. Like Towns had 14 points game one. Gobert, who came back, had 6 points. Ant-Man had 19 points. Not good. Getting mopped in game one at home. For the T-Wolves. In game two, the Nuggets were pulling away. Jokic was clearly hunting for his shot. Jamal Murray was hunting for his shot. Okay. Let's see the bench contributions. Braun comes in strong off the bench. Holiday comes in strong off the bench. Okay. So essentially, the only bench points they got for Minnesota was Naz Reid with 11. All right, that's the game right there. Now, for Rudy Gobert, game two, when we saw Towns without Gobert, looked really good. It seemed like he had more space offensively to operate. With Gobert back in the lineup, okay, for this particular series, it seemed like he's a liability. Tonight he had 11. He had a double-double, 11 points, 14 rebounds, and he's a +9. But if you watch the game, he was horrible on offense. He was 5 for 9 from the free throw line. He's not a good free throw shooter. Okay, he's only really good for help defense, because he's not a good one. In my opinion, I don't think he's a really good one-on-one defender. 4-time defensive player of the year, not really good on one-on-one defending. And he gives you 11 points. Previous night he gives you 6 points. He gets a lot of ticky-tack fouls. Every time he fouls, he always wants to do the money sign, which was caught on cam. He's gonna get fined for that again. He needs to stop doing that, because a lot of the fouls you get is on you, right? Ant-Man played one of his best games again, and he didn't have help from Karl-Anthony Towns. He's reduced 5 for 18, horrible, right? They reduced themselves. He's been reduced at home. You would think going home there'd be some spark, right? The whole world was rooting for the Timberwolves to dethrone the Nuggets, right? It's always unique when one team wins a championship and you see another team challenge them for their spot, right? And the Denver Nuggets has reasserted their dominance. Now they protected home court. Basically, both teams swapped, right? Now, can Minnesota go back to Denver and win on their court for a third time? Hey, anything's possible with Anthony Edwards, but the problem is you have momentum now, okay? Denver Nuggets is starting to get bench contributions, okay? They're playing better defense. And on offense, they're letting Jokic be way more aggressive, right? And what they're doing is, what I've noticed in the game is that Jokic is starting to shoot his ball a little earlier in the paint when Gobert tries to extend, and he was throwing those floaters all night, right? Gobert couldn't do anything. Joker was getting his shots early. Jamal Murray was definitely creating his shots and getting his shots off early in the paint, right? And they were getting the switches that they wanted. I mean, at one point, they had Jokic on McDaniels. They had Jokic on Anthony Edwards. You know what I'm saying? Killing him in the switch game all night, right? So we're gonna find out how good this Minnesota Timberwolves team is if they can make the adjustment, because for 2 games at home they've made none. And I'm starting to look at Rudy Gobert as a big problem in this game. They're not going to bench him, but you would think, hey, you know what? Let's see if we can duplicate what we did in game 2 to get Towns going. Seemed like the team played a lot more faster and on defense and on offense. it's like Gobert just slows everything down, you know. And it seemed like they had Denver had a game plan knowing that Gobert was going to try to pick up Jokic, half court, cooked them, got the ball out quicker. I mean, it seemed like just the talk was Minnesota looks like the fastest team. Well, these 2 games, the Denver Nuggets look like the much faster and youthful team, right? So yeah, now here's the thing. Now I say all that to say that suspension that Jamal Murray did not get was BS. The Denver Nuggets put themselves in position. They played well to fluster him, for him to act up. Jamal Murray should have been suspended, and most likely, I do believe if Jamal Murray was suspended, a high probability that the Minnesota Timberwolves would have won Game 3 and be up 3-1 at this point, right? The game's got to be played. We don't want to see the game, but I don't care, right? The way Jamal Murray acted, that warranted a suspension. The NBA's reasoning for viewership, I don't want to hear. People still would have tuned in and watched that game on a Friday night, regardless if Jamal Murray was there or not, or even without Jamal Murray, to see if they can really put this team down 3-0, right? So no, the NBA robbed the Minnesota Timberwolves of a valid suspension to help their team as opposed to helping the Nuggets. So that deserves a little bit of the legitimate money sign. Crazy game. Wolves on the verge of possibly choking. It'd be a shame. And now I don't think Minnesota is going to be able to win a third time. It's possible, but the way the Nuggets are clicking, they figured it out. Mike Malone, they found something. Can the Timberwolves go there and win the third game? Is going to be very hard to do now that the Nuggets have found something, are clicking. Tough. Gobert, liability, my opinion, bench him. Bring him in with the second unit with Naz Reid. Let me know what y'all think about this wild series. Thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe. I'm out.